What would you do if you saw someone being humiliated in public, arrested for a crime you weren't sure they even committed? Most people would look away. But one single dad veteran couldn't. When he stood up for a woman accused of shoplifting, he thought he was protecting a stranger. What he didn't know was that she was no ordinary woman, she was an off-duty police captain. What happened next shocked the entire town, and the lesson it left behind is one you won't forget. The local supermarket was buzzing that afternoon. Shoppers pushed carts full of groceries, children tugged at their parents, and the beeping scanners at the registers kept up their constant rhythm. In aisle 5, Daniel Hayes, a single father and veteran, was carefully comparing prices on pasta. Life hadn't been easy since leaving the military. His wife had passed away years ago, leaving him to raise his daughter, Lily, alone. Every dollar mattered, but Daniel carried himself with quiet dignity. His time in service had left him scarred, but it had also made him fiercely protective of others. That's when he heard the commotion near the front. 2 store security guards had cornered a woman near the exit. She was in her late 30s, with sharp eyes, short brown hair, and a strength in her posture despite the struggle. They accused her of slipping a small item into her bag without paying. The woman's voice was steady but firm. "You've made a mistake. I was going to pay. I just set it aside while looking for my wallet." But the guards weren't listening. One grabbed her arm roughly, pulling it behind her back as a crowd began to gather. Shoppers whispered, some recorded on their phones, others shook their heads with judgment. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He'd seen this look before, the face of someone wrongly accused, the helplessness in their eyes. It reminded him of his own battles against a system that sometimes judged before understanding. Lily tugged at his sleeve. "Dad, why are they being mean to her?" He couldn't ignore it. Not in front of his daughter. Not with his conscience. Stepping forward, Daniel's voice cut through the murmurs. "Hey! That's enough." The guards turned, annoyed. "Sir, stay out of this. She's been caught stealing." Daniel's jaw clenched. "I've seen plenty of thieves in my life, and she doesn't look like one. What she looks like is a woman being manhandled for no reason." The woman glanced at him, surprise flashing across her face. In that instant, Daniel knew she wasn't guilty. Still, the guards kept insisting. "We're calling the police. She's under arrest." Daniel's voice grew sharper. "You don't arrest people without evidence. Did you check the cameras? Did you let her explain? Or do you just grab whoever you want to make an example out of?" The crowd murmured louder. Some nodded in agreement, others shuffled uncomfortably. For once, the guards looked uncertain. But the damage was already done. The woman's bag had been dumped on the floor, her dignity trampled along with it. She stood tall, however, her eyes locked with Daniel's. In that silent exchange, something unspoken passed between them: gratitude, recognition, and strength. What Daniel didn't know was that this wasn't just any woman. She wasn't a shoplifter. She wasn't helpless. She was Captain Sarah Mitchell, one of the highest-ranking officers in the city's police department. And soon, the truth was going to turn the entire situation upside down. Moments later, a patrol car pulled up outside. The guards smirked, ready to hand Sarah over. But when the officers stepped in and saw her face, their expressions changed instantly. "Captain Mitchell," one officer stammered. The room went silent. Sarah crossed her arms, her voice calm but commanding. "Yes. Off duty. And wrongfully accused by your overzealous security." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The guards went pale. Daniel blinked in shock, realizing what had just unfolded. He had stepped in thinking she was an ordinary woman, vulnerable and cornered. Instead, he had stood up for someone who spent her life protecting others. Sarah turned to Daniel, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "You didn't know who I was, did you?" He shook his head. "Didn't matter. Wrong is wrong." Her smile grew warmer. "Most people wouldn't have spoken up. You did. That takes courage." The officers quickly dismissed the guards, who stuttered out excuses. Sarah's authority was undeniable, and soon the crowd dispersed, embarrassed by how quickly they judged. But she wasn't done. Turning back to Daniel and Lily, she softened. "You taught your daughter something important today. Standing up for strangers takes more than bravery, it takes heart." Lily beamed up at her dad, her small voice proud. "My dad always protects people." For a moment, Sarah's expression softened even more. She'd seen countless men in uniform, but something about Daniel's quiet strength struck her deeply. He hadn't defended her out of duty, status, or recognition. He'd done it out of principle. Over the next few weeks, Sarah and Daniel crossed paths again. She checked in on him and Lily, sometimes bringing groceries, sometimes just sharing stories from her years on the force. Slowly, a friendship blossomed, a bond rooted in respect and shared understanding of sacrifice. For Sarah, it was a reminder that even off duty, she wasn't alone. For Daniel, it was a reminder that his voice, his courage, still mattered beyond the battlefield. And for Lily, it was a lesson she would carry all her life, that her father's greatest weapon wasn't his service record, but his unwavering heart. This story isn't just about a wrongful accusation or a surprising revelation. It's about the power of doing the right thing, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one else will. Daniel didn't stand up for Captain Sarah Mitchell because she was important. He stood up because she was human. And in a world where silence often outweighs courage, that choice made all the difference. Would you like me to also make chapter-wise 5 photo prompts each, 10 total, for this story, so you can create cinematic visuals for YouTube?